Hey, what's going on, everybody? Short and simple, hopefully, video that will be very helpful to people that are having issues like I'm having. As you can see here, I have a key fob, and just to quickly explain, because I'm not going to put it back together to show you, but this is for my 2008 Chevy Cobalt. Whenever you go to use the lock and unlock buttons and the trunk button, they don't work, but when you use the horn button, it does work. So that goes to show you there's nothing wrong really with the key fob, except for the fact if I take, you can actually pull this away from the circuit board. All of those little parts in the circuit have to make contact with these rubber pieces in the back of this, and they get wore over time. And then all the videos that I found on the internet, it's like, well, you got to buy this kit, you got to buy that kit. And the worst thing is, you think, oh, I'll just buy a new key fob. Well, then you got to go the only cheap route to go, unfortunately, with these newer cars, and sadly 2008 is not that new, you have to go to a dealer to have them program your new key fob, and that's a pain in the butt. Or you can buy a tool on eBay or Amazon that plugs into your car's computer system, and then you can program your new fob yourself. But still, you still have to spend money that way. So the next thing I wanted to do was figure out a way to fix this. Obviously, it works, because if you take a knife or a screwdriver or anything and just run it across these buttons back here, you could see if your fob still works or not, regardless of these buttons, the rubber parts on this. And when I did, it worked. I ran it across the trunk button. The trunk opened. It locked and unlocked. The only thing that works with the original rubber here is the car alert alarm deal that makes your car beep like crazy. And I found a fix. I'm going as cheap as I can. I found videos that are useful, ways like little cleaning kits that you can use to clean these connections up. Basically, you clean up these rubbers, it'll make them work. I got a simple fix. Just a little tiny bit of tin foil. So I'll show you guys here how I'm going to fix that. So as you guys can see, I got my tin foil in place. Can't emphasize this enough. Obviously, if you're using this and it's not thin enough, you got to put it really, really thin on there. You want it just enough on there so whenever you push on the button that the tin comes into contact with these places on your circuit board. If they're in contact with your circuit board entirely, you're going to have a problem. So I have a little bit much here. I'm going to probably shave those off a little bit, but just take your time, just the tiniest, thinnest piece. Get yourself a little bit of super glue and add it to the back side of that rubber, and then attach your piece of tin foil to it. You want it thin as you could possibly get it, because if they come into contact with these, it's obviously going to cause issues, and you don't want it coming into contact until you're ready. So when you're pushing the buttons, when you want it to come into contact. But whenever you push that button down, though, in theory, and I say in theory, it works, the tin foil comes into contact with that instead of that little rubber, and it should fix your issue. So I'll show you guys here in a second. Okay, just before I go and show you guys this works, here's what it looks like. Just one tiny little piece of tin foil. Do not make it thick. Don't fold it over. Thin as you could possibly make it. You don't want that coming into contact with your circuit board connections when you're not pushing the button. You're going to have your car beeping all the time, and something will go haywire, and you don't want it to happen. Just from my own experience, I did try this without actually gluing those in. I highly recommend you glue them in with something. It's not going to hurt. Just a tiny little drop of super glue on top of the rubber, where it's just a little bitty circular piece of rubber. For those of you who don't know, that's what originally makes contact with these points on your circuit board. Just the tiniest bit of super glue on top of that, and then put just put that thin piece of metal in there. I guarantee you this is going to fix it. It's going to save you a lot of money. Okay, once you got your key fob all put back together, the camera will focus in on it. As y'all can see, that worked before. That's just the car alarm. Like I said, it worked before, but your most used buttons are your unlock, lock, and on this car has a trunk unlock on it. Those go, as you can see, push the lock, the car locks. And I'll go ahead and get closer up here. Just because it's beeping, some people may not believe you. Here's me pushing the unlock. There, it unlocked. Push the lock, and it locks. Push the trunk button. Kind of hard to hear, but the lights start flashing. trunk button's working. It's all working. So guys, I hope this was helpful. I can't find anything on the internet that helpful. I'm all about saving money. And to me, these newer vehicles, I know on my 97 Explorer over there, I could buy a aftermarket key fob for it. You don't have to take it to a dealer. Apparently, those are old enough. There's a way you can you just turn the key off and on real fast 5 times, and you can program it yourself. But they purposely made these to when these wear out, they want you to come to the dealership, buy a new one, have a dealer program it for you with their little computer system. Probably cost you $100. And if you don't want to go that route, and you do need a new key fob, unfortunately, you know, sometimes these things can't be fixed. You can buy your own key fob, but you do have to buy a little tool that plugs into the computer on your car, and it'll allow you to reprogram your new key fob. But hopefully this will save you guys money. I didn't want to buy a new key fob. I knew this thing had to work. I replaced the battery in it, and then whenever the car beeper was working, I thought, you know what? It works, obviously. It's just these buttons are wore out one way or another. And I put my mind to it, and I thought, you know what? There's surely something I can put back there to kind of reinforce those rubbers on the back of these buttons. And lo and behold, tinfoil does the trick. Like I said, make sure it is a tiny, thin piece of tinfoil. You don't want it to be thick. As soon as you put your key fob back together and you have it locking itself and unlocking itself constantly, you're going to want to rip your key fob back apart as quickly as possible, because you don't want it to go haywire and screw a bunch of stuff up. But if you just use a tiny, 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 tiny little thin piece of tinfoil back there for each button, you should be good to go. I hope this, guys, helped you, and I'll see you later.